All right, here's our favorite coaching hires, both head coach and offensive and defensive coordinators for this NFL offseason. Let's go one by one with our favorites, and then we'll go one by one with our least favorites. Number one for you, who was your favorite hire?
And I'm surprised he didn't make your list. It's Klint Kubiak going to Viva Las Vegas with the Raiders. And I think he's going to be able to turn around this sucker in a hurry with Fernando Mendoza, the likely number one overall pick. Ashton Genty on roster, Brock Bowers on roster, a guy that's done some inventive and ingenious things with the Seattle offense this season. I think he's going to transition seamlessly and get that team back to an instantaneous level of respectability. They got, mountain to climb defensively, got to make some investments in the offensive line. But I think Kubiak is going to push the right buttons and make this offense hum immediately next season. So give me Klint Kubiak in Sin City as my top hire this offseason so far among the coaching ranks.
Yeah, truth be told, he was number one for me as well. But I did, we do have a show sheet. I did see that you put Kubiak down. And so I figured we'll go a little variety here. Even though, yes, he would be my number one. We're going to spread the wealth out. And I did say, I think the first team we talked about on Black Monday, because they had already made their coaching change, was the Atlanta Falcons. And they were the first team that I said, I'm going to say his name for a couple different teams because he's my favorite head coaching candidate of this entire offseason. I don't see how he doesn't get a job. I think he's going to be amazing. That was Klint Kubiak, and I made my pitch for him to go the Atlanta Falcons. And I said it. If the Atlanta Falcons hire Klint Kubiak, I think they win a dozen games next year. They didn't. I think they picked the next best option for them, and that was Kevin Stefanski, and I love the hire for Atlanta. Again, another offensive-minded play caller that has head coaching experience, just coming from Cleveland, two-time coach of the year when Baker Mayfield was his quarterback, and then Joe Flacco came off the couch. And we've seen over the last couple of years how very, very difficult it is to be an offensive-minded head coach in Cleveland when you got Jimmy and Dee Haslam as your owners, and you got Andrew Berry as your GM, but more importantly, when you got Jimmy and Dee Haslam that forced $230 million of Deshaun Watson onto you and then basically say, yeah, you got to pick up the pieces here, man. That was our bad. Kevin Stefanski wasn't pushing for Deshaun Watson, and yet, in a couple of seasons, he was able to strike gold. He was able to basically put together many miracles in Cleveland. And so I think that he kind of, got a very raw end of a deal. I think he now goes to Atlanta, and I think he's got a couple of Ferraris in his garage with Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and we'll see what happens with Kyle Pitts. The real question is, can he turn Michael Penix into a foundational franchise quarterback? I think he can, because he was able to get close to the most out of Baker Mayfield. And again, Baker was in the beginning of his career, so who knows? If he got Baker like Tampa Bay got Baker, could he have done the same thing? I mean, he brought Joe Flacco in, and Joe Flacco, wins Comeback Player of the Year. That's what Kevin Stefanski is going to be judged on. Can he get the most out of Michael Penix? But I think the weapons around Penix are too good for him to fail with the right head coach. And you got a two-time coach of the year that knows how to call plays, knows how to run an offense. I believe in Kevin Stefanski. I think he is going to get the most out of Michael Penix. I think the Falcons are going to win double-digit games. And so, yeah, I love the hire of Kevin Stefanski to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Brad, another one of your favorites here in this offseason?
Yeah, let's go with an OC, the offensive coordinator, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, going from right coast to left coast now with the LA Chargers, and that being Mike McDaniel. The one thing we know about Mike McDaniel is a guy can call a game and scheme, and he can really maximize the play of his running backs. I mean, look at the season Devon Achane had. It was remarkable. A guy that was stunning in terms of duality, beating people up on the ground, beating people in the pass game. Really racking the numbers, which means Omarion Hampton to the damn moon. Again, I've already said this. He could be the RB one-of-ones when the season, the dust settles next year. You got Justin Herbert. No more excuses for him. Again, I think the schematics are really going to favor the LA Chargers. That division is going to be a murderer's row in the AFC West. I mentioned the Raiders. They're going to be rising. The Broncos are still going to be rather formidable. And of course, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to probably snap back and storm back with a vengeance. So, Chargers, that offense going to put a lot of crooked numbers on the scoreboard because of Justin Herbert, because of Amari Hampton, but because of the buttons that are going to be pushed incorrectly by Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, that's another one that I love too. So I think you're spot on with that take. I'm going to go with another head coaching hire, though. Probably my third favorite one outside of Kubiak and Stefanski. I'll go with Jessie Minter, who, it feels like this guy has been ready to be a head coach now for a couple of seasons. And I like the hire for Baltimore here. It's a guy that was the defense coordinator for Jim Harbaugh for the last couple of years with the Chargers, was with him at Michigan, used to be with the Ravens with John Harbaugh. So, if you think the Harbaugh's no ball and, a couple of Super Bowl appearances between them and a national championship, this guy has learned under them. And look at his defenses over the last couple of years. Michigan basically produced, 5, 6, 7 NFL players with that defense when he was there. The Chargers defense has been top 10 for the last 2 years. His zone defense is incredible. Everybody knows their role. They're fundamentally sound. Look at what he did with the LA Chargers. Look at how he turned Odafe Owe into a great player as well. And I just think that this guy has learned from some of the best. And, how is that going to, transition from him being a good defensive play caller into being a good head coach? That's of course, the $1 million question here. But his defenses have been great. I expect that to continue. Baltimore's defense, he gets to get his hands on Kyle Hamilton. Oh, my God. Like he's the best safety in football now. Imagine what he's going to look like under Jessie Minter's defense. I cannot wait. I think he will fix so many issues that the Ravens had in the secondary because they're going to play really airtight zone coverage. And, I think he's going to be a really good head coach. We always try to predict what these first-time head coaches are going to be like. Some end up being great. Some end up being terrible. Some end up being in between. I think Jessie Minter is going to be a great head coach. I like the hire from Baltimore. One more for you on your favorite hires of this offseason.
Well, I know your fanboy didn't really want to come out and sing this guy's praises, so I'm going to do it for you. It's got to be John Harbaugh. As I've already mentioned, the Giants absolutely cranked a home run like a 500-foot bomb over the left field fence with this addition. Harbaugh's a proven winner. His road, it ran into a brick wall. His time ran out there in Baltimore. They had to turn the page after this season, but the guy's, got a Super Bowl under the belt. He knows how to steward and lead an entire franchise. I like the assistants that he has brought in. This team is going to get back to at least 500 football immediately. And probably going to be a borderline playoff team, if not an outright playoff team next year. I love Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterbo, some of the defensive weapons they already have on this team. Make some additional investments, particularly on the back end defensively, and Harbaugh will reconfigure and restructure that unit, and they're probably going to perform at a top 15 level next year, is my belief, in terms of EPA data. So, way to go, New York Giants. This franchise has sorely and desperately wanted a winner. You're going to get one, and it's going to happen quickly as soon as next year because John Harbaugh is leading the way.
Oh, baby. Inject what you just said into my veins. Yep. I feel the same way. I've said it before. I think the Giants are a playoff team next year. So I love it, man. I love it. And unlike Nick Costos, who's ready to jump off the Giants bandwagon already because they hired Matt Nagy, give Matt Nagy a chance. I think this offense is going to be great.
Totally agree.
I think he brings that experience to Jackson Dart. I think it's going to be awesome. But yeah, John Harbaugh, stabilizing force. You're going to hear that so many times till August. It's going to wear you out. But man, that is what he's here to do. He's here to make the Giants franchise, the once proud Giants franchise, proud, stable, and a consistent winner again. And he's going to do that. For me, I'll go offense coordinator route here. And this is one that got a lot of flack, but I love it. And I can't wait to be right. I can't wait for this guy to prove people wrong. Drew Petzing, the new offense coordinator for the Detroit Lions, served the same role as the Arizona Cardinals. And People watch what happened to the Cardinals down the stretch, a team that had just one of the most god-awful defenses I've seen in the last 10 years. Jonathan Gannon, who didn't have a freaking clue of what was going on there, tried to hold players accountable like Amari DiMercato dropping the football for the goal line and basically like assaulted the dude. Like, I get it. You want to get in people's faces. Not a good look the way that went down. And the team basically just kind of splintered and quit. You know what didn't quit? The offense. An offense that was supposed to have Kyler Murray be the franchise quarterback, and he wasn't good enough. Then he got hurt. They lost both their top 2 running backs by week 5, James Conner and Trey Benson. And so they're working with 3rd and 4th string running backs, an offensive line that's not very good. And yeah, Trey McBride was amazing. Trey McBride had one of the great tight end seasons ever. And for anybody that was saying, well, it's Trey McBride. No, like, don't you think every other team the Cardinals play, don't you think that's the number one freaking game plan they write on the whiteboard on Tuesday or Wednesday when they come in? Stop Trey McBride. And yet, they were able to get him open. Like, a guy like that should never be as open as he was. That's good scheming. That's good play calling by Drew Petzing. And so he enabled Trey McBride to have the freaking season that he did. Marvin Harrison Jr., was great in glimpses, was struggled to stay healthy, barely played the back half of the season, but he was looking like he was going to be a bust last year. And then he had some really good moments. But again, MHJ basically didn't play for half the year, and Michael Wilson turns into a star. And so the Cardinals defense stunk. And yes, at times the offense, they didn't get off to great starts, but like, it's just too obvious for me. It's too easy to say, oh, well, anybody can look good when you're stat padding and trailing by 20 the whole game. No, it's not that easy. Teams know that the Cardinals couldn't run the ball, and yet Jacoby Brissett was one of the best quarterbacks in football for like a 6-week span. He's throwing for over 300 yards a game. Michael Wilson turned into a star. Trey McBride had one of the great tight end seasons ever. I mean, he put together that offense, Drew Petzing, with glue and Band-Aids and silly putty. He did a hell of a job. Now he gets to go to Detroit, where he's going to run a lot of heavy 12 personnel and a lot of misdirection, and that's going to fit in with Jared Goff. He gets to play with David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
But gets to play with Jahmyr Gibbs, gets to play with Sam Laporta coming back next year. I cannot wait to see what the Lions offense looks like under Drew Petzing, because I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that get proven wrong. So I really, really like the hire. I think that Lions offense doesn't skip a beat. They get even better next year.